Hello and welcome back to Warcraft Daily for today, the 30th of March 2014. So, in today's news we have a few little things, but overall there's a lot of interesting stuff actually. Quite a lot of really important things were said over Twitter, interestingly enough. But anyway, first of all, what I want to talk about is the stream. It happened yesterday, it was a complete success. It went from 4 PM GMT until 5 AM because, of course, the clocks went forward over here. It was a ton of fun, and if you just go onto my Twitch page, you can check out the VOD there. And it was really good actually. We got to do, I did flex runs. I kind of got my druid boosted through a few wings of flex, which is pretty nice considering it was a freshly boosted character. And it was funny too, like the amount of amazingly geared people. We had this guy called Fat Jimmy, who was a rogue, who was doing like 500 and something thousand DPS. It was crazy. But anyway, I had a blast with that. I did some arenas with people, which is extremely fun as well. And yeah, streaming overall, it was really fun. I had a great time, and thank you to everyone who checked out the stream. It was a great success. And yeah, really happy with that. So, with all that said, out of the way, let's get on to the World of Warcraft news. And the first thing isn't from Blizzard, it's actually from MMO Champion. Now, there was a poll that was done a while ago, and the poll is called, "Which dungeon would you blacklist?" Now, the reason I'm featuring this poll is because it had 52,000 responses, which means that it's statistically very significant. So, interestingly enough, 30% of the votes went to the Siege of Nuzhao Temple. People don't like that place. Then 22.57% went to Shadowpan Monastery, 13% went to none, as in they didn't want to blacklist anything. 11% went to the Gate of the Setting Sun, 11% to Stormstout Brewery, 4% to Mogashan Palace, 3.5% to Scholomance, Temple of the Jade Serpent got 2.86%, Scarlet Monastery got 1.21%, Scarlet Halls got 1.02%. So what's the interesting thing that we actually learn here? Well, what wins out are the smaller, and I think more traditional dungeons. They don't have ultra, kind of jambly bosses with weird mechanics. It's just things like the Temple of the Jade Serpent, which is just a straight up dungeon. There's no bullshit bosses like, say, the second one in Siege of Nuzhao Temple, and that kind of thing. It's interesting. But also, the ones that people didn't want to blacklist were, I'd say, mathematically the most efficient dungeons to run, so people definitely do value efficiency. They don't like feeling like their time is being wasted, and I think perhaps Shadowpan and the Siege of Nuzhao Temple are definitely the two dungeons in which your time can feel like, it's just dragging on a little bit too much. I think personally my favourite ones in the expansion are maybe the Jade Serpent, because I think the Shavir is actually a decent enough boss. Then Mogashan Palace, actually, I really like fighting Zin the Weapon Master, with all those things flying around the place. That's a fight that, yeah, it's a dungeon, but it actually requires a little bit of thought from people, and I think that's really quite good. And then Scholomance, I don't particularly like it, that's more of a personal issue, but at least it's nice and short. And then Scarlet Monastery and Scarlet Halls, they actually seem to be people's favourite dungeons, or at least the ones they definitely wouldn't blacklist. They, to me, they're a little bit dull, but honestly, they're solid dungeons, and I don't mind them, so I think fair enough. But yeah, 30% of people wanting to blacklist the Siege of Nuzhao Temple. So in the comments, let me know what is your favourite dungeon and why, and then let me know what your least favourite dungeon is and why. I'm just be interested to know, and maybe I'll mention it in the next Warcraft Daily or something like that. So overall, pretty damn interesting, and what we do know is pretty much what we always what we always thought is that people just, they prefer doing the efficient dungeons that are a bit shorter, and I guess that's fair enough, I understand that. Alright, so the next thing to talk about is WoW Source, or WoW Source even. So this is, it's going to be back, and it's the kind of like a mini chat show that they do. Morgan Webb hosts it, whoever she is. I know she's from something, I forget it though, and it will have a bunch of World of Warcraft developers on it. The developers this time are, I think we're getting Helinka, Ian Hazacostas. Look, we always get Ian Hazacostas, he does everything. And then we're also going to get the lead class designer, who is Chris Zerut, I think, or Zierhunt, something like that. Zierhut. I never actually heard of the guy, which is interesting considering he's the lead class designer. So it'll definitely be nice to hear his perspective from things. And they're going to be talking about PvP changes. I think it's mainly about PvP. Just overall class changes, system changes, the whole thing. So hopefully we'll find out something interesting. They tend to not really announce things via WoW Source. At least I don't think they do. Not particularly sure. I can't remember them announcing a great deal, though they did talk about, say, the female undead and the cloaks the last time they did one of these shows. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out. What we do know, though, is that there is another PvP feature that they have not talked about yet. Whether that will be in the game or whether it will be cut, we do not know, but we could find out about it in this edition of WoW Source. So that'll be nice to know. I'm not too sure exactly when it is. They just said it was coming back, so yeah, just take a look at the official World of Warcraft forums, and there's a thing there, and you can leave questions, and they might feature yours in the show. Still, though, I think it's a very good format to talk about things because, first of all, it's voice, and people understand that better than text. It's a little bit less ambiguous often, and developers can make a statement and then kind of explain it a bit better in a way, or at least in a way that people will be more likely to listen to. I think often they make a lot of announcements via blog, and that's great for me, that's great, because I can read into the blog, I can read about their intent, but there's a lot of players who just take things, they don't really think about changes, and they don't think about them in the context of anything else that's going on, and they jump to conclusions, which is definitely having a negative effect, and it means you get these one side versus the other forum arguments, and what happens in those forum arguments is that the hate that comes from one side and goes to the other and vice versa just galvanizes the other side's opinion, so it basically makes people more angry about something, which is not a good thing. Definitely, I think having WoW Source is a good way to do it. So yeah, it's definitely nice when they kind of can prepare some information and do a blog post that's very unambiguous, that just says everything. A little bit like what they've done with the Artcraft posts. I really do enjoy the Artcraft posts, actually, and I think they're probably the best single bit of Warlords of Draenor hype that they have done since BlizzCon. Overall, very good. Now let's move into the tweets, and first of all we're going to start with one that should be very exciting to a lot of people. So, Whoom said on Twitter, he's one of the World of Warcraft developers, that they might make Spirits of Harmony bind on account or bind on equipped before or at patch 6.0. This will fix so many problems. So I think that a lot of people back in the day, maybe they didn't enjoy it, but it was a thing to do. Farming motes. Farming your volatile areas and your things like that. That was a legitimate task that some people did to make money, and they enjoyed it. But what did they do in Mists of Pandaria? They removed that part of the gameplay for a lot of people. And it also meant that if you made a crafting alt, you couldn't just send things over from your main, which was absolute bullshit. You know, sometimes it's okay just to have an alt that is there to craft with. You don't want to limit people's gameplay decisions. And that's what they did with this change by making these things bind on account. So by allowing you to free things up, you can at least send things from your main to your crafting alt, and you won't have to farm these silly little motes on your alt. So that's definitely a good thing. Ultimately, though, I think that they should be bound on equipped. That leads to a more fluid economy with more things happening. I think that's absolutely a good thing. It gives people gameplay, and I just... Why did they do this? You know, why did well, okay, I know what their reasoning was for why they made them bound on account at the start of Mists of Pandaria, but honestly, I don't think they had their head screwed, like, their collective head was not screwed on at the start of Mists of Pandaria. There were so many stupid decisions, like, say, allowing normal scenarios to just cannibalize dungeons, and just the way some various systems worked. I think you know what I mean. Basically, they, of course, I think have got far, far, far better from basically patch 5.2 onwards. Things have been going fantastically, in my opinion, and I'm really feeling positive about the future. But some of those early MOP decisions, I'm just glad that they're kind of being, you know, fixed up now, and this is a fantastic change that I'm very excited about, especially from the perspective of someone who has got multiple crafting alts. Alright, so next we have a little bit of a confirmation from them that as well as doing the WoW source, they're going to be doing a PvP blog post, which is going to be mainly talking about the PvP gear changes. So, what's going on? Well, what we know is that the item level disparity between PvE and player versus environment combat or content will be a little bit smaller, so the item levels should be a bit closer, and PvE stuff will definitely be better in PvE, and PvP will be better in PvP, which is obviously what we would want. Yeah, they're also removing resilience and battle fatigue, and of course the gearing changes are going to facilitate this, and we'll basically find out the full details and perhaps some new news when this blog comes out, and we just know that it's going to come out sometime in April, but no exact details. So at least we know that in April we're going to get this PvP blog, and we're also going to get an Artcraft about the female Draenei, so overall there's some good stuff happening. I think they should definitely have one blog post a week though, they should really try to hit that, but I suppose after a few months they would probably run out of things to talk about. Still, as long as the blog posts last them until the beta, then that should be a decent way to keep their hype strategy going. Alright, so next we have a tweet from Brian Holinka, who said that there is currently a bug with the matchmaking ratings and MMR in PvP. I'm not too sure the exact details, but it's being hotfixed, so you may just find a little bit of oddities with your rating after you do your next few PvP matches, and it'll just take a few matches for that rating to stabilize. So there you go, that's definitely nice. Now, in relation to that poll that MMO Champion did, Ian has a Costas confirmed that they are going to be hotfixing the Siege of Nuzhou Temple to allow players to use the gong to summon waves of adds faster on the second boss. Now this option is already available on Challenge Mode and it's nearly essential to getting a gold in the Challenge Mode, but this will allow you to get through that second boss a little bit faster, which is totally a good thing in my opinion. So yeah, it's nice to see them just make a direct change based on player feedback like that, and just especially, it's pretty relevant player feedback in my opinion. Often, okay, if you just let your players decide every element of your game, then your game's going to be a terrible lowest common denominator piece of crap. But for a little thing like this, which was just purely causing an annoyance for people, I think it was a good decision to do that. So props to you, Blizzard. And yeah, then next, we also got confirmation that Hydras will be one of the new tameable pet classes in Warlords of Draenor. Very nice in my opinion. I also definitely hope that they will fix up the pet AI a little bit in terms of pathing and that kind of thing. Maybe some of the pathing fixes and code that they'll be using to fix up some of the warrior things will help out with pets. I'm not particularly sure. But I think the pets should nearly have like a baked-in blink strike, so if they're too far, not if they're too far away, but if there's just some oddities happening, they can just blink back to to where you are standing. Now I understand there could be some PvP complications with that though, so of course we'd have to see how it would all play out. And then finally, we also have some more good news, and they confirmed that they are going to be adding an NPC in patch 6.0, which will allow you to enter Dragon Soul LFR with a group of any size. This will basically facilitate transmog farming, which in my opinion is completely fair enough. I'm guessing the transmog set from back then has got a different colouring or something like that, so they want to allow people to get that. Fantastic news, and they'll probably do the same for the Siege of Orgrimmar stuff. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today's show. I know it's a little bit shorter than normal, but honestly, I've got a really sore throat now because, hey, I spent 12 hours talking yesterday. It's kind of sore. Yeah, so what's going to happen with the next few days? Well, it might take me just like a day or two just to get back in the normal content schedule. Don't worry, you'll still be getting your 2 videos a day. I have some stuff I'm like pre-prepared, and I'm thinking of starting a new series of videos where I just kind of look at suggestions and concerns for Warlords. It'll be more of an analytical thing, so I think that should be it'll be fun to make at the very least. But anyway, yeah, stay classy, people. I'm going to go and do some C++. If you enjoy the show, then you can check out my Patreon page and Twitter and all those various places to help out the channel. And actually, speaking of Patreon, I might do a full-on video about that, just talking about it, because I think that might be worth it. Yeah, there's a number of computer upgrades I'm planning on making, like getting a DSLR to make some video footage and stuff like that, which, they deserve their own video, not a ramble at the end of this one. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see you next time.